This is Net News Network headline news for Monday, May 9th, 2022. The baby formula shortage across the United States is getting worse. According to a report from Data Assembly, nearly 40% of popular baby formula brands were sold out at retailers across the country during the last week of April. That's a significant rise from the out-of-stock rate of 31% in early April. The data analysis from Data Assembly showed the baby formula stock was relatively stable for the first half of 2021, and only about 2 to 8% of baby formula brands were out of stock. But baby formula shortages started to rise in November 2021, and data shows the shortage has continued to get worse throughout 2022. Inflation, supply chain shortages, and product recalls have brought an unprecedented amount of volatility for baby formula. We expect to continue to see the baby formula category being dramatically affected by these conditions. Baby formula stock, which has been one of the more affected categories so far in 2022, and one that will continue to demonstrate higher than average out-of-stock levels. Shortages are worse in some states than others, including Connecticut, Delaware, Montana, New Jersey, Rhode Island, Texas, and Washington. There's also been a recall of baby formula, which has compounded this problem. The FDA recommends you speak to your medical provider for alternatives on changing feeding practices. Most stores are limiting the purchase of baby formula to 1 to 3 cans. What are mothers supposed to do if baby formula is all they can feed their baby? U.S. stocks have suffered the worst streak of weekly losses in more than a decade after days of tumultuous trading surrounding the Federal Reserve's decision to raise interest rates by 0.5 percentage point. The NASDAQ composite, chock full of interest rate-sensitive tech stocks, slipped 1.4% on Friday after another whipsaw trading session, while the S&P 500 fell 0.6%. Benchmark Treasury yields that underpin borrowing costs across the globe moved higher. The stock market moves meant both indices lost ground over the full week, each notching their 5th straight week of declines. That represents the worst streak since June 2011 for the S&P 500 and November 2012 for the NASDAQ. The Dow fell 1,000 points on Friday and started out 1,000 down today. Is now about 500 down. Of course, they have all kinds of excuses for this, but the bottom line is you can't put trillions of dollars into the economy the way they have and not expect this to happen. If you can't see the writing on the wall from this wavy up and down movement of all three markets, then I don't know what to tell you. Now would be the time to do what you have to protect your investments. Dmitry Rogozin, the head of Russia's space agency Roscosmos and former deputy prime minister, said Sunday that in the event of a nuclear war, NATO countries will be destroyed by Russia in half an hour. He stressed that such an event cannot be allowed because the consequences will impact the entire Earth. Russia has roused fear and concern over the potential use of nuclear weapons as Russian President Vladimir Putin prepared for the May 9th Victory Day celebration, including a massive military parade and a nuclear theme that he hopes will send a doomsday warning to Europe and the United States. Russia. Pro-abortion activists are targeting Catholic churches for protests on Mother's Day, with some citing the Roman Catholic faith of multiple justices who reportedly at one point supported the leaked draft opinion striking down Roe v. Wade. The protests followed days of organizing in front of the Supreme Court building following the leak last Monday night. Protests that led the Washington, D.C. police to erect a fence, ostensibly to protect the building and justices within. Fox News has also learned that there has been a strong police presence at the justices' homes following the leak. And our federal government, Democratic government, is supporting the idea of doxing these justices. Whether you're a Catholic for choice, ex-Catholic, or other, or no faith, recognize that 6 extremist Catholics set out to overturn Roe, the pro-abortion organizing group Ruth sent us posted on Twitter, with a video of activists appearing to disrupt a church service, stand at or in a local Catholic church Sunday, May 8th. The organization Rise Up for Abortion Rights has organized a week of action beginning on May 8th, Mother's Day, with actions outside of churches. And whether this is part of that organization or not, a pro-life office was burned down in Wisconsin Sunday night. And Saudi Arabia has lowered the price of its Arab Light crude grade to Asia and Europe for the month of June, according to a pricing document released by oil producer Saudi Aramco on Sunday. The price of the Arab Light benchmark sold in the United States in June was unchanged from the previous month at $5.65 per barrel, above the Argus Sour Crude Index. Arab Light sold in June in the Far East was priced at $4.40 per barrel, above the average of the Oman and Dubai benchmarks, compared to a price differential of $9.35 in May. For buyers in Northwest Europe, the Arab Light price differential versus the ICE Brent was $2.10 per barrel in June, compared to $4.60 in May. The world's top oil exporter had raised crude prices for all regions in May, with those to Asia hitting all-time highs as fears of disruption in Russian oil and gas supplies caused jitters in international energy markets. Well, you can thank Biden for this. The U.S. could be completely self-sufficient on oil instead of relying on these Middle Eastern countries who are just raising prices in the wake of all this to make as much money as they possibly can. This has been Net News Network Headline News. For more, visit netnewsnetwork.net. Thanks for listening.